Hello, it's Mrs. Vore here to give you the solutions to our box plot check for understanding, which is 5.4. And this check for understanding was shorter. I am just going to go through and give you the answers first, and then after I do that, I'm going to come back and talk a little bit more about number 1. I think number 2 is okay, but talk a little bit more about number 1, maybe number 2, and yeah. So after I just show you what the answers are, if you're Gucci, you can close me, sad day, or you can stay and watch me walk you through at least just this problem. Remember, you can turn me on twice the speed, so if you need to do that, don't forget to do that. Okay, number 1 is echo. And you can see my work for that one, just that one. Number 2, A is 100%, B is 75%, C is 50%, and family, make sure you write the percent symbol. You cannot just write 100, 75, 50. You must get your percent symbol on there. Okay? Let me make sure that all these are asking for percent. Ah! They're not. Let's see. About what percent of employees from Corporation B make more than $40,000? 100%. About how many employees from Corporation B? Well, how many? Oh, okay. 60. The yearly salary of 60 employees are shown below. So are both of them 60? Data were collected from 30 employees who were hired in 2009 and were still employed 5 years later. So 30 at each. Let's get prepared, teacher. Okay, yeah, so 30 at each. So 0.75 times 30. Oh my word, we almost got this one wrong. 22.5. So I'm going to say about 23. I'm going to round up. How many employees in Corporation A? 50% of 30 is 15, so I'm going to write 15. Okay, I feel okay about that. Sorry to waste your time. My whole rant on the write your percent symbols made me want to verify that I was doing this question right. So, my apologies. A is 100%. B is about 23 employees. C is about 15, not about, 15 employees. Or maybe I should say about 15 employees. Pause and let me decide if I want to write about. I'm back. The problem says about how many. Okay. Goodness gracious, guys. You think you're prepared and you're not. Good heavens. Okay, 10 years later. We're on the last problem. So here's what happened on number 3. I made this assignment for you. I sent it to the sub, and then I did the assignment just to make sure that if you guys emailed me any questions, I would know what I was doing. So I went to make the box plot for brand Y and ended up getting a lower outlier. So I really need to label these. You guys did not have to do both. What happened was I did the box plot for brand Y. It's shown here below. And he ends up having a bunch of outliers. So all of these values are outliers for brand Y. You can see right here, all of these are outliers. Well, then the next number is quartile 1. If you take these 3 out as outliers, then this is now quartile 1, not the minimum. So you ended up having to make a box plot with no lower whisker. There's no thing here. You just start the box. And I was like, that's too complicado if I'm not there. So then I emailed the sub and said, have them change it to brand X. So that's what you're seeing right here. This is brand X and the one that you should have done. So here's my 5-number summary. I went through the stem plot, and you can see me drawing on the stem plot to find my quartiles and my median. I wrote them down here. I found the lower and the upper bound. And there are no outliers. So I probably should have written there are no low outliers and then no high outliers. You don't have to, but it just shows attention to detail. What can we see in the shape of the battery lifetime in the stem plot that we cannot see in the box plot? Well, you cannot see that there is a gap in the data from 43 to 54. You cannot see that most of the data is clustered on 3, 3, 4, and then you have 2 that are in the higher end. So this leads to the cons that hopefully you wrote down on the front of your note sheet, that one of the downfalls or the disadvantages to a box plot is that there's some things about a distribution that you can't see, like clusters, gaps, and modes. Sometimes you can see the gap, but if it's in the middle of the data, you won't see the gap. And then it only gives you the 5 values, unless they also give you the data set. But if all they give you is the box plot, all you know is your 5-number summary and whether there are outliers. So here on the brand Y, you can see that there's a gap in the data from this lower outlier to quartile 1, but that's not always the case. You cannot see the gap in this box plot. You cannot see clusters. You cannot see if there's more than one mode. So that's one of the disadvantages. Okay, that's it. If you understood 1 and 2, I'm going to go back to 1 and 2 and give a little bit more detail. So I'm actually going to go through each one of these options. If you knew this and didn't have a problem with it, then see ya. Love ya. I'm going to talk about this one too, but if you got number 1 right, you probably don't need number 2. So, okay, which of the following is not correct? About 50% of the male students have weights between 150 and 185. So I'm just going to go up here to my 150 and my 185. And what you're seeing here is that you have the middle 50% of the data. Sorry, that's not 185, I apologize. This is 185. If I draw those 2 lines, you can see that those 2 lines match up with these 2 quartiles, which does equal 50%. So this is 50%. This is 150. This is 185. So that one is true. About 25% of the female students have weights above 130. So I'm going to go to 130. This is 130. The females are that whisker, which is 25% of the data. So B is true. The median weight of the male students is about 162. So on this one, all you have to do is find your median and, as best you can, draw a line straight down from there. And for me, that does look to be true. The mean weight of the females is about 120. Well, the female distribution is approximately symmetric. So the distribution of female weight is approximately symmetric. So distribution is approximately symmetric. Well, why does that matter? That matters because then that means that the mean is about the same as the median. I cannot calculate the mean for the females' data because I don't know the actual data values, but because this is symmetric, I can estimate it. So that is what I have chosen to do. So if I draw this down, that is about 120. And then lastly, you can see my calculation for the range of the male and the range of the female. Or you could just eyeball it. The male students have less variability than the females. Well, look how long the box plot is for the males. That's way longer than the box plot for the females. Without calculating the range, you can see that the males is more spread out and longer than the females. Number 2, what percent of employees from Corporation B make more than 40,000? So once again, you would just go to the 40,000. You would make a line going straight up. And you can see that the entire box plot from Corporation B is above that 40 line, so about 100%. How many employees from Corporation B have gotten at least a $10,000 raise? Well, this is telling you that every accountant starts at $36,000. So a $10,000 raise would be $46,000. So I am going to make a line at 46. So 46,000 is slightly more than halfway. If I draw that line up, about 75% of your box plot is to the right, because this is 25, 25, 25. So 75% of Corporation B have had at least a $10,000 raise, which is about 23 employees. How many employees from Corporation A make less than the typical salary of $51,000? So the key word there is the word typical. And they are trying to get you to recognize that the typical observation oftentimes is also your median or your mean. Sorry, I'm just trying to find a highlighter that I want to use to note that. So, typical salary usually is referring to, typical refers to mean or median. So in this case, we're going to choose the median, and the median is the point in your data for which 50% is above that value and 50% is below that value. So 50% is 15 employees. And if you didn't know that, you could come up here and see, oh, 51% is the median for both of these distributions. So middle, median, 50%. Okay, that is all of the feedback for box plots. If you have any lingering questions, you can email me, wait till you see me again next week, or come in and see me this week, or we'll possibly do a Zoom on Friday. So that's it. Love you guys.